Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, President and Chairman, and the entire association. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. That was amazing. Thank you so much. So the deal was, I couldn't look at the intro before she did it, so I didn't have context, and then she gets a Nintendo Switch game. So thank you for all her help. So thanks, Lisa, so much. The message I got is I probably need to balance out the work-life thing. So excited to be here and really appreciate CIE choosing me. It's such an honor. And what I hope to do tonight is share some ideas. I think there's been a lot of questions. I was here in the afternoon about, well, how do you start a company and how do you start a business and how do you raise funding and all these different things. And what I'm going to try to do is share some of the principles that I use. I want to start, actually, principles that I use and think about all the time, just about what my life is about. And in the context of what my life is about, that's how these kind of businesses have started. And I'll just kind of talk about the main theme, which is living a life worthy of our gifts. This has been something that I literally write down, and I have a plan for what I want to do in the year, what I want to accomplish, and I sort of revisit every week. And it's really about living a life worthy of our gifts. I've been so lucky to have amazing parents and to have grown up in a great home and had great educations. Going to Cornell and Waterloo and Stanford for the MBA, a dozen patents from Microsoft, and I don't really count any of them as sort of my achievements. I count it as I've been lucky to be in the right context. And context in life is everything. And these ideas I share, I might get lucky and they might change your mind, or they might not, but I've done my best. The context becomes who we are, becomes all of our opportunities. So the more we can think about our context, the more we have control over where we go. And to kind of quote Stephen too, just now, everything changes, right? Everything changes. Raise your hand if you know what this is. Anyone know what this is? Okay. Yeah, this is called a VCR. And a VCR was something that we used because we didn't have any live streaming, right? The video would only come in real time, and we had to save it. And this would save the videos we would watch in a resolution that's about the quality of an animated GIF. And that's literally how we grew up. So for all the kids are like, well, why didn't you just use an iPad? So this is really about, the family that I have today cannot conceive of the world that I grew up in, right? Where you just didn't have devices, you didn't have the internet, it was just impossible to conceive. And what we have to realize today is the future, right? The future 20, 30, 40 years from now will be in that same context. We cannot, the same way that our kids can't imagine what VCR is, we can't imagine what their future state is going to look like. And that's how far technology will take us. My daughter is 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, there's a gentleman named Warren Buffett. And in that year, when I was 8 years old, he was talking about his most astonishing investment, this amazing company that was throwing off cash. It was called the World Book Encyclopedia. And the World Book Encyclopedia when I was 8 years old was a big deal. But 10 years after Warren Buffett bought it, it almost went bankrupt. It was Microsoft and Clara had taken out the entire market. Like the world could change that fast from the best investor in the world and what he was bragging about to almost a nothing. And today you can buy the World Book Encyclopedia is worth less than the shipping it would cost to bring it to your door. So the concept is everything changes, and we have to constantly be thinking about where that future is going. More than where we've been in the past. The second thought I want to share is to consider how we adapt. And adapting to a changing world is the most important thing we do. When I was in school, when I was an engineer at University of Waterloo, we were taught how to do drafting with a pencil and an eraser and a drafting table. And I was one of the last classes at Waterloo to ever learn drafting because computer automation was coming. And in my career, I've actually worked with someone who was a professional draftsperson. That was what they did. And they had a pencil and they had a drafting table, and that was their work. They had a 9H hard pencil. They're just designing designing all these physical machines. And what happened was, I'd always remember this phrase. The person said, was a professional draftsman, and everything was changing. And he said, "I had to learn computers. I had to learn computers." And sitting here today, it's like, that seems so impossible to have someone in our generation say, "I had to learn computers." And what this person did was, they learned computers. They became a 3D modeler. They started to work actually for Lucasfilm. And I was lucky enough, as this professional helped me start my video game company. And this, what you see here, is one of the setups from our video game, and he did all of it. And when you think about the productivity of a draftsman with a 9H pencil to what this person did together with us, it's 1,000 times, it's 3 orders of magnitude more productivity, right? So what does it look like to be 1,000 times more productive than you were, when you were in college? Like, what does that quantum leap look like? And those are the ideas I think we all have to look back in history and say, these are 100,000 times more productive, and what does that world look like, and what are the skills we have to learn? And the last idea here is really to seek to understand the opportunity. The businesses that I built really have come from seeing the changes that are happening and finding a way to be part of that change. And if you want to start a business in Silicon Valley that's going to be one of those scalable businesses, one of those venture fundable businesses, it needs to be done on a change in technology, a sea change. And that's different. Like you can start an accounting office, you can start an office that's in a static technology. But if you want to do something that is really transformational, it's not about the company. It's about what is happening in the world. So we started a video game company that was doing an HTML5 game engine, right? So Adobe Flash was going down. We started this new technology, and everything changes. That technology didn't work, but then we became a video game company. And then what made us kind of rise was there was a boom in social gaming. There was a boom in platforms like Facebook and other social media that lets you acquire users really inexpensively. And lots of game companies kind of rose around that time. We rode that wave. We did the wave pushed us much faster than we could have on our own. So we rode the wave. And the second, and then that video game company, the wave kind of petered, and then we had to find a new wave. And then we discovered open source. There was another wave in open source distribution. So open source companies like GitLab, like HashiCorp, which went public, found a way to use open source to distribute their technology into enterprises. And it was a way to kind of come in the back door, and as a small startup company, we could beat out large enterprises. We ended up, we're selling to the US defense and the global defense industry. We're selling into governments. We're selling to big tech. And we do it to the back door through open source. And that's made possible by advances in the trends, the adoption of open source. So those are two trends that kind of were the foundation of our companies. We raised $70 million in venture capital on the back of the successes that these trends have made possible. And the one thought that I'll leave you here today is that ChatGPT, generative AI in the sense that we're going to ask it a question and it's going to form opinions. It's going to come back with answers that we could never predict. This is that 1,000 times change, right? This is I have to learn computers. In our generation, this is that real turning point. And it's in the news and people are talking about it. And if you haven't actually signed up for an account and tried it out, you're not really going to understand what this is, and you're going to be less prepared for the really massive amount of disruption that's about to come. So if I could leave you with one thought here, it's that there are these transformational waves, whether it's mobile or social or generative AI, and the expectations that we have for ourselves and for our kids and for the future, they're non-linear. If you're talking about 1,000 times change in productivity, the world our kids are going to live in is going to be 1,000 times more competitive. And it's going to feel like the draftsperson with a pencil against this Lucasfilm artist doing 3D animation. And that's going to be the span of the difference. It's going to be orders and orders and orders of magnitude. So the last idea coming back is live a life worthy of your gifts and understand all the things that engineers do, the technological breakthroughs, the discoveries, the science. Those are the gifts that we have to the world. And this is the world that, working together, we can make absolutely extraordinary. And it's all up to each of us. And that's the decision we want to make. Do we want to be part of it and build the future? So thank you all so much. Really, thank you all so much.